All right, it looks like we have everyone. So good morning and welcome to Jamesway's webinar Wednesdays. My name is Victoria Frail. I'm the Director of Hatchery Solutions here at Jamesway and also your host on our webinar program. This week I am joined by Kirk Dawkins. Kirk has recently accepted the position of Regional Sales Manager for the U.S. Eastern side. So congratulations on that, Kirk.
Thanks, Tori.
I'm very excited to start working with you a little bit more closely. Kirk has joined us from about 20 years in the broiler industry with Columbia Farms and Pilgrims. Today he's going to be talking to us about hatchery audits, which is going to be quite an interesting topic since Kirk did perform hatchery audits at his time in the broiler industry. So Kirk, welcome and glad to have you here.
Thanks, Tori. Glad to be here.
So let's get started. I'll go ahead and put up your presentation. There you go. You can take it away.
How are y'all doing? Glad to be here. What is a hatchery audit? A hatchery audit, it's a way to check all the processes from eggs arriving to chicks departing from the hatchery. It also is a way to check your machines and your hallways, your rooms, to make sure that they are operating optimally. So we'll get started. So this is just some best management practices, just different areas to audit: facility, egg room, incubation, chick processing, chick delivery, sanitation, and safety. So you can see the different areas there. That just breaks down the hatchery facility from all different areas, dumpster area outside, grass cut. A lot of times when people ride by, if the place looks good, typically it's a pretty good place.
Okay.
That's just some more of the items on there. Hatchery egg room audit, temperature, ventilation, sanitation, the egg pack conditions. You can set the different temperature range for what your facility requires. It's a good thing to look at all that, because if the eggs are not handled properly and cared for properly from the time they come in, if you come in and they're wrong then, or something's not right, you're not going to put out a good chick in the end. Incubation audit, candle eggs. I'm sure that's something that everybody does, just to check quality and to help you be more accurate with your projections on chicks coming out. Machine checks, that's crucially important to chick quality and hatchability. Hatchery conditions, if you want your machines to operate correct and optimal, you have to have them in a room that is operating optimally. Your hatcher hall temps, setter hall temps, humidity temps, and then it goes back to a little bit of maintenance on this one too, as far as wick replacements and how often and what are best management practices and things like that.
Oh, sorry. There you go. There you go.
This is some more items on the incubation, static pressure in your hallways and in your plenums, so that air flows properly through the machines. Machine calibration, that is probably the most important piece on that page right there. If to get a good chick out, you got to make sure that the machine is calibrated properly and it's not off, because you'll get spikes in temperature will be too high. You'll have a lot of late dead, early dead. You know, there's numerous things that can affect chick quality with machine calibration. You can see there, you check other things, gaskets, all that stuff. You know, it really affects airflow and how the machine operates. And there's no need in calibrating the machine if the gaskets are bad or turning is not correct. All that affects how the machine calibration works. Chick processing audit. 5 big things on there. Tray washer. Monitor your temperature. I like it to be at 140 degrees minimum. You kill a lot of bacteria there. Much cooler than that, it's hard to kill a lot of bacteria. Chick separator. Watch the chicks going over the end. And I know it depends on what type of separator you have as to how you monitor that. I like to check 90 trays. And, you know, in 90 trays, I don't want more than about 6 or 7 chicks going over the end. Your goal should be 0. Chicks out of flow, observe any chicks that are on the floor. Different parts of the automation, they may fall off of a belt and sit on a brace or something like that. Put them back in flow within 15 minutes, and that's also good for your animal welfare policies. Counters, verify the counts in the boxes. Whatever your goal may be, typically it's 100 chicks per box, and you know, you need to count, typically you'd count 10 consecutive boxes, and your goal should be 1,000. And you know, you need to be within 3 chicks of 1,000. So like 997 to 1,003.
Super accurate.
Yes, very accurate. Lot breakout, just verify that the person that's doing that they are really doing that, and it does happen.
So we have a question, and to the user who sent it in, your name is actually showing up, just your phone type. So this question is, how often would you recommend calibration of a single stage setter? So Jamesway single stage, we need you to check calibration 24 hours after set, every single set. That's where you can make your adjustments. You don't need to go around and have a separate calibration, but the most important thing there, multi-stage or single stage or any sort of calibration, right, is that your calibrating instrument is also calibrated.
We'll get to that later on in the presentation as well, Tor.
So important. Yeah. Oh, hold on. There you go.
Okay, I think we move on, Tor. No.
We did that one,
Okay,
so
yeah.
there.
Okay, so the next one is hatchery chick delivery. You know, you want to make sure that the trailer is working properly. You know, visually inspect the inside, make sure the fans are turning the correct direction, make sure airflow is moving properly in the right direction as well. Keep your air filters clean on if you have a Smithway or whatever you haul them on. That is crucially important, especially in the hot weather. Those of you that are in the South, hot summer times, it can really make a good chick look bad if that unit is not properly maintained and the filters are not properly maintained. Your Moffett, you know, you should have it on a PM program with your shop or with a contracted maintenance.
So what's a Moffett? Is that your?
Moffett that's the forklift that hauls the chicks from the Smithway trailer into the house.
Okay.
Hatchery Sanitation, you know, all the good incubation in the world doesn't help if the hatchery is dirty and not clean and you have a large bacteria load. Those chicks are going to be seeded down with bacteria and they're compromised from day one. In-house sanitation, you know, need to do an audit monthly, plating audit monthly. I've got a sheet on that later on. Incubator sanitation, general, sanitation of the hatcher rooms, hatchers, clean room, chick separator room, fan blades and setters themselves, after you set eggs. I like to, when you talk about setter sanitation, there's a couple of different ways I like to do that. So when you set eggs, I don't like to have any water, and typically this would only be in a multi-stage machine, because a single stage you clean it top to bottom every time. But in a multi-stage machine, when you set eggs, only dry clean it. If you break an egg, get it up and maybe just mop that little small area. Then, because you're trying to keep that heat in that machine, you're trying to get those eggs brought back up to temperature as fast as you can. So at transfer, you can afford to do a little bit more cleaning and do a little bit better cleaning, because you're not loading that machine with 1/6 of the capacity of that machine with cold eggs at whatever your egg room temperature is at. So you can do a better, deeper cleaning then. Sometimes people will go back on the off day, like Wednesday or over the weekend, whatever, and do a little bit better cleaning. That works, but I would rather try to eliminate that and just do it when you have to be in there. That way you're not opening that door again an additional time. Processing room, all the conveyor belts and things like that, they need to be cleaned, sanitized every day. Hatcher trays need to be cleaned and sanitized every day. And you should always transfer on dry hatcher trays. Never transfer on a wet hatcher tray. Just asking for a lot of issues there. Tray washer, that's probably the heart of the hatchery. If the tray washer is not clean, that's what cleans the trays that the chicks hatch out on. So if it's not clean, definitely behind the 8 ball there. Crucially important. Hatcher cabinets, they have to be clean. A lot of people use different disinfectants, formaldehyde and peroxide, and all those things work good in addition to, but if it's not clean to begin with, there's no magic bullet to fix dirty.
That's it. You can't sanitize what isn't clean.
Correct. So this is the safety portion of the audit. This part would probably vary between company to company, but this has got a lot of the big points on there: lockout, tag out, formaldehyde training, chemical storage, SDS books, PPE. The list goes on and on there. Ladder safety, ladder check-off list to make sure they're in good shape, make sure all your guards are in place. A lot of documentation. Most companies now are very safety driven, and I'm sure that your safety representative at your company would be willing to assist in anything that you needed pertaining to safety or to the audit, and help you be able to get everything you needed for that. Other areas to audit, I know we've talked about a lot, but typically there's a lot of things that go on. This audit has to be done yearly, this audit's twice yearly, another audit may be done quarterly, weekly to daily. So we've got a few sheets here just to kind of help you keep up to date with things that have to be done, and what the breakdown is on the amount of times per year they need to be done. And also we included a food safety part, sanitation, your pest control, biosecurity, water quality. That water quality is a big thing in a hatchery for spray nozzles. You want your spray nozzles to operate as best as they can, because if their pattern's off, you get variable hatches, you get variable temperatures in the machine, which compromises chick quality. At the end of the day, we're all about the chick quality. Everything you do from the time you bring that egg in is focused on how good of a chick you put out at the end of the day. That's what the grade is right there. vaccination audit, you know, company veterinarians, they sit down, they put a lot of work and a lot of time in their vaccine programs. So, you know, you need to maximize that effect, make sure everything is working as well as it can so that that chick gets the best protection it can get against different things in the field.
Right.
Animal welfare, you know, that goes without being said today. It's important. You know, chick holding temperature before you load them on the truck. You know, if that room is hot, you put on that truck, that's you're behind the 8 ball there. You need to check and make sure that your alarm systems work on your setters, on your hatchers. You know, if you have alarms that are on your room controls, egg rooms, egg haul trailers, chick trailers, you know, that's the safety net right there. Make sure those things operate. Verify that they operate, because there again, it goes back to chick quality. Have an injury report system. If you see chicks that get injured, you know, you can look at that. The best thing, you know, the one thing that I want to talk to on that is, don't just write down how many were injured. Write down where you noticed them get injured at. That way the maintenance guy, the hatchery manager, the quality person, they can go back, they can see what the issue is,
Right.
and then correct that problem so that it doesn't continue to happen. Don't just report it. You know, go the extra step and know why. That also goes back to the chick side of flow. So the some of the things on the annual list, and this is not all inclusive, you know, every company is going to have their own things. This is just some of the things that I feel are important to do. Sign requirements on file for each chick delivery, biosecurity, chick handling, distribution. Typically that's done by the person booking the chicks out. Also the delivery driver, he'll have a place to write comments, time he left the hatchery, time he arrived at the farm, time he left the farm, time he arrived back at the hatchery. Tori talked earlier about calibrating machines, and to the question about how often should a single stage machine be calibrated. And you said every set. But Tori also said that, you know, it's no good to calibrate if the piece of equipment you're using to calibrate is not calibrated itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's on the annual list. Calibrate all electrotherms and probes. Any calibration equipment that you use on your machines, they should be calibrated, verified every year.
Yeah. And you have lots of options there, right? You can buy approved mercury thermometers that you calibrate against. That's something that we do a lot in the food industry. But the other option, you know, if you don't have that ability or don't have someone on staff who really is competent in calibrating, is there are a lot of labs across the world that will calibrate your instruments. And a lot of times it's just a simple phone call to the manufacturer of your instrument. Usually there's a phone number right on it for service. You call them and they'll refer you to your closest lab to get that calibrated. So that's an option.
Thanks, Tori. That's a lot of good information. Check the amp draw on your heating elements in your machines, your setters, and your hatchers. Strobe fan blades to check for bent blades, and you can also check RPMs to make sure that you're getting the correct RPM so that the machine's operating properly.
Right.
An infrared inspection, typically most insurance companies require that now.
Okay.
And what they do is they come in and they take an infrared image of all your distribution, electrical distribution boxes, switch gears, transfer switches, breaker panels, any controls on machines, controls for automation.
Okay.
If you've never had one done, I would challenge you to do that. It's crucially important. I have been a victim of finding something, thankfully, and being able to repair it before a disaster happened.
Right, yeah.
Lockout, tagout training, crucially important. Formaldehyde training, pallet jack training, animal welfare auditing. Typically, your QA person for the complex will set that up with you. Biosecurity training, also important, so that you know where to go, where not to go, who to let in your hatchery, who not to let in your hatchery. If you let them in, what are the requirements that they wear, hairnet, take a shower. You know, it's different for each facility. Twice annually, I like to have I want the generator to be on a service program with a generator company. That's what they do. That's what they know. It's more than just a truck motor. There's a lot of different things on there.
Yeah. And the same really applies to your ventilation equipment. You should be having that on a twice annual service program, usually one in the fall to check your heating system before you start it up, one in the spring to check your cooling system before you start that up.
Absolutely, I agree. Clean dampers on the generators and on your air conditioner units. Quarterly requirement walkthrough with a safety representative. If that's not already a thing that you do, I challenge you to get your safety person there. Once a quarter, just to do a walkthrough. You know, you walk through that hatchery every day. You get tunnel vision. You miss things. You know, we all do. We all have. I did when I managed a hatchery. I missed things. The safety representative would come and point out things that I missed and walk by every day. So it's just good. You know, we want our hatchery to be safe for our team members. Monthly check and verify damper operation. Fire extinguishers, eye wash is operational and clean. Have a safety team meeting. Ladders maintained and inspected, and your preventive maintenance program is being maintained. That's something that I like for the hatchery manager to go back and look at on a monthly basis, just to make sure that, you know, you're getting what you want. Inspect what you expect. Weekly generator fuel level. Review the chick separator. Preventive maintenance where you watch, you know, if chicks are getting lost. Document your lot breakout. And if you're at a facility that has 2 generators, I like for those generators to be alternated from week to week. That way you keep the hours more even. And
we really look for you to be doing the same thing, especially on your water pumps. If you have 2 water supply pumps, particularly in single stage, do be switching over monthly from one to the other. That way, in case one does go down, you know that the other one is still operational.
Right, I agree. Daily things to check: egg room temps, machine checks, fertile egg temperatures, review your counters, lot breakout. And this is just a few spreadsheets that I had made so that, you know, it was easier for us to stay on track, not get behind. This is just a daily check sheet that had different things, you know, tray wash temperature, room temperatures, setter room temps, hatchery room temps, all kinds of different things. Had a place for a signature at the bottom. This is a chick quality spreadsheet. Take 100 chicks from, you know, I like to do a younger flock, a prime flock, and an older flock. And if you can, do 2 younger flocks, 2 prime flocks, and 2 older flocks. And you can see where your trend is and how things are going and all that stuff. This is the bacteria and mold sampling log, just areas to sample. It's got a column to write down how many colonies of bacteria you had at 24 hours and then how many colonies of mold you had at 48 hours. This is from setters to hatchers to rooms to AC units, egg rooms, chick holding rooms, your chick delivery truck, your egg truck, just everything. You know, you could do egg swabs. You can do trays out of the tray washer. Yeah. You can swab inside your tray washer, your automation equipment, anything and everything that you think you may have an opportunity to get better at.
Yep. And on top of that, you can also, depending on the sanitizers you're using through your tray washer, and in other areas, you can actually get specific swabs that you can swab and verify that the correct amount of sanitizer has hit that area.
That's right.
That's another option in that microbiome type area. So we're going to open it up to questions now, and I realized that I forgot to let you all know about where to put your questions in for us at the beginning of the webinar. So if everyone wants to look in the top left corner of your screen, for those of you on mobile, I'm not really sure where the button is, but if you find chat, you can use that as well. But there should be a Q&A button in the top left corner of your screen. If you click that, those questions that you type in will pop up right here on my laptop, and I can ask Kirk any questions that you may have. Now, I did have a question for you, Kirk. I was wondering, out of all the hatcheries you visited with Jamesway, with Columbia, with Pilgrims, and any that you visited, what are the 3 largest problems that you think you see that, that would affect someone's hatchery audit?
Probably number 1 is having the auditor in the hatchery by themselves, nobody with them.
Right.
That's a big important thing. You need the manager. The manager to be with them would be the best. If not the manager, the QA person, assistant manager, maintenance guy.
Right.
Another thing that I have saw is, the manager tries to do everything.
Right.
And sometimes things doesn't get done because he's got so much other on his plate. He doesn't have the time. So if you can delegate to good people in your hatchery, portions of the audit, make them responsible for those, that'd be great, because it helps the manager and it makes the auditor feel like everything is done all the time and nothing's rushed to get done before they get there.
Okay. Good. Carlos is asking if he can receive the presentation and some of the checklists, and we can definitely make that happen for you, Carlos. And for anyone else, you can just shoot us an email, webinars@jamesway.com, and we can reply back with the presentation. Of course, this will also be on our YouTube channel in a week or 2, so that if you do need to rewatch for something, you can do that. We do have a question from Ken, and he's asking, when your hatchery was audited, did you always score a 100?
Absolutely not. I wish I could say that, but absolutely not. I really worked hard at it, but I never could get it.
I mean, that's tough, right?
I don't remember ever seeing a 100 on an audit.
No,
I don't know of anybody that has ever scored a 100 on an audit.
I don't think so. I did GMP, Good Manufacturing Practice audits in food processing, and I mean, you always find something, right? That's the point of the auditor,
right? Is
to find something that the staff maybe didn't notice.
Yes.
Because they're in it, they're living every day, and they don't see those things. So that really is the benefit of having an audit, is that, someone from the outside, fresh eyes, is coming through, whether it's a safety audit, a welfare audit, or just a general hatchery audit. That's a big benefit, and that's something that we can actually do for you. Our consultants can come out, walk through your hatchery, and help you find those points.
Right.
And most of our sales managers as well are former hatchery managers. So you can also go ahead and ask them, what areas they see for you to improve. Because we're all in this together, and we're really here to help you get the very best out of your hatchery. Carlos, you're asking if we have Spanish versions of the checklist. Not that I know of, but I think that we can probably make that happen in a short timeline for you. So I'll let you know. From Tony, thanks for joining us again. I know it's fairly late, late. I think it's early where you are actually. He is asking, how do you get around single stage incubators struggling to cool after performing something like candling? So Tony, I'm assuming that you've opened the door and the machine is a little imbalanced now because you are, you've been in there. So what's the best practice if you need to go into an incubator, single stage or multi-stage? Obviously, as Kirk said, go in as infrequently as possible, but what's your best practice in terms of going in, coming back out? What do you really need to be considering to make sure that you don't imbalance the machine?
You know, like you said, Tori, infrequency is the winner there. You know, if it's not a real big issue, don't go in there. But, you know, if it's something that's going to compromise chick quality, I would recommend you sit down, think about everything that it could possibly be, have all your tools there, have all your equipment to check things, your temperature probe, have everything there. Go in, do what you have to do, figure out the issue, and get back out.
Yeah.
Minimal time is the winner there.
Yeah. And anything you're doing, I think Kirk brought up a really good point. You know, don't go in and disrupt the environment by adding water to the floor.
Right.
Or something like that. So if, you know, if that does happen, maybe the answer is that you need, if you have the capacity to move the buggies to another machine that's already pre-warmed, if you need to go in and be wetting down the area, because you're just going to change the humidity in there. The humidity changes the ability of the machine to remove heat, single stage or multi-stage, and makes it harder for that machine to remove heat off the eggs. So you're going to see a lack of balance, right? And the same thing happens, let's say you have a leak inside the machine, or sometimes I've seen it happen on the roof of the machine, it filters in. In that case, the very best thing to do, instead of trying to work around it, is if you have another machine, get that machine warmed up, move the setter racks over, and then deal with the issue there, because that water, unless it's completely cleaned up, is going to cause an effect on your hatch and your chick quality.
That's right, Tori. Got a lot of good points there.
So from the ventilation side, because you all know that that's kind of my world, what are the biggest problems you see in hatchery ventilation?
Filters not being changed out frequently enough, ductwork being dirty, ductwork not being sanitized. There's numerous different disinfectants that you can use for your ductwork systems, for your units themselves. A lot of units are built now so that they can be sanitized, they can be washed down. They don't have exposed insulation on the inside.
No, never.
They're aluminum clad or stainless now. A lot of them even stainless. You know, blower wheels, you can clean those inside the units. You get a lot of buildup on there. You know, chicks have down, it builds up on the blower wheels. It hurts performance. Throws dirty air. The list goes on and on. Number one, have a filter program.
Yes.
If you use reusable filters, have a program in place where you wash them, disinfect them every hatch day. Paper filters, throw them away, put new ones in every hatch day. You know, one day during the week, go up, verify everything's good on the unit, on the PM side, and while you're there, you know, it doesn't hurt to just wipe it out, clean it up. Go from there.
Yeah, I agree. Those would be the major issues that I see in ventilation maintenance, is the filter cleaning. I mean, especially here in Canada, no one wants to be up on the roof in the weather that we get in the winter, but it needs to happen. And one thing you can do is you can have your micro team put plates actually in the duct. So where you have your clean out hatches, have them reach in as far as they can, put a plate in the duct, and you can actually collect the bacteria that is coming in that way. And that could give you a good idea on whether or not your ducts are sanitized well enough or not. Because a lot of times that is one area that's missed, just because it's not the easiest or the best job to do,
Right.
right? So if I'm a hatchery manager and I'm preparing for my first audit, you mentioned that, you know, I need to be ready and delegate, but what are other things that I can do? Should I have my paperwork laid out, and if so, what duration of time? What do I need to do really to be ready and make my audit go smoothly?
I agree. Laying the papers out, that is a huge help, because, you know, it looks like you're prepared. It looks like you have done it. It looks like you understand it. It looks like you have bought into the program.
Right.
And the auditor feels like you're on board and you're there with him, and everything's going to go smooth.
Right.
Have all the papers laid out that he needs to see, all the documentation stuff laid out that he needs to see. If you can't be, you know, if you can't be with him, and, you know, well, better note to that is, you know, whoever you have delegated for that specific section of the audit, have that person go with that auditor. That way that auditor sees that you talk it every day, you do it every day, you believe in it, and you know that it'll work, and you know that success will follow that. That's big.
Right.
When they know that you have bought in, typically your audit's going to go smooth. And it's easier for you as well, because with the demands of hatchery managers today, you know, budgets, different audits. You got animal welfare audits. You got biosecurity audits. You know, there's just too much on your plate to be able to do all of that. And then you've got to run a hatchery on top of that too.
Yeah.
So, you know, delegate and hold those people responsible, and inspect what you expect from those people. And don't go 3 months and not inspect what you expect. Do it on a weekly basis. You know, have a team meeting with those key people on a weekly basis, and hey, where are you at? What's going on with this? Have you done this? Have you done that? Follow up and check.
Right. How often were the hatchery audits done at Pilgrim? Was that an annual thing?
Yes.
Or every 2 years?
Annually.
Okay.
Annually. Typically, it's done annually at most companies that I know.
Right. We have a great question idea from Victor here. And this is one of the reasons I love doing webinars, is you guys come out with great ways for us to improve our products and help you run that worry-free hatchery. So Victor has asked if we can add the audit checklist to Hatchcom. So it would be already in there. So what I can tell you is that right now, if you have Hatchcom 4, and if you haven't seen Hatchcom 4 and you're still running 3, please head over to our YouTube and check out the webinar that really introduces Hatchcom 4, but it has a maintenance feature. So in that feature, I can schedule every maintenance task that Kirk has talked about. I can schedule all my preventative maintenance on my ventilation, on my incubators, on my hatchers, on my building, and you can set a person to be accountable. You can set due dates. And that will actually, if you enable it, give you maintenance alarms. So, you know, machine 72 is overdue for calibration, whatever, if it hasn't been done. So the audit could also be put in as a reminder, or even just a, you know, maintenance manager walk through this area and do this small audit checklist. I'm going to talk with our designer on Hatchcom 4 and see if there's a way that we can actually put a full kind of audit checklist scoring system into Hatchcom 4. Maybe it'll be a link out to our website where you can get the document, download, and use it. But I'm going to see what I can do with him in terms of including that. But right now, you can set that up manually through the maintenance function. The other thing I want to check with Renee is if we can get you guys like a USB key or something that you can plug in and load into Hatchcom that will put all those tasks up, right? Give you all the default tasks that we feel you should be using. And then you would just need to go in and assign the accountable person. So we'll see if that's something we can do. And as always, guys, as you're using your Platinum software, as you're using your Hatchcom, as you're using your Guardian system, if there is something that you feel would make your system operate better or help you, in your day-to-day life as a hatchery manager or a maintenance manager. That is something you can email any one of us, email your sales manager, email us here at webinars@jamesway.com, because, you know, we can go down and talk to the designers of those software programs, and most of the time we have those features added. Most of the features we add are actually suggested by hatchery managers like you all, and we really value that input because this is a partnership. We're really looking to help all of you on that. Tony has a question. Does Hatchcom 4 allow for individual passwords for each user, or it's the same as Hatchcom 3 with user levels? I'm not 100% certain, Tony, and I know that I have your email, so I can check. Or Ronald, of course, you know, he knows Hatchcom 4 really well. He can probably help you with that. I'm pretty sure Hatchcom 4 still runs the same password levels in terms of user level 1, user level 2, and then the admin user level 1, admin user level 2, the same way that the Platinum software runs users. So I don't know that there's a way to give each user their own password right now. But let me check into that and we'll see if that's something we can add. All right, we are nearing our time commitment here. So give it a minute or two more if anyone has any last questions that you'd like us to cover off. Please do keep an eye on your email, keep an eye on our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. For the next webinar topic, I know that we had said it would be airway ventilation for this month. That didn't end up working out with travel schedules and IPBE, and we're glad to see a lot of you there. So that will probably be our next topic. However, we'll confirm with you through those e-blasts. If there's a topic you would like to see, again, webinars@jamesway.com. We're always looking for your feedback and your ideas because this program really is for you, and we'd like to discuss the topics that you would like. So as there are no more questions, I just want to take this opportunity. Kirk, thank you so much for joining me. That was very interesting. I think I learned a lot on this one. So I hope everyone else did as well.
Great, thanks. Glad to help. If I can be any help to anybody, just send me an email. Send it to the webinar email. Anything that I can do to help, let me know. Thanks.
I just dropped the email there for all of you into the chat. So if you hit the chat button, the email is there. Of course, it's always on our website, or email your local rep and they'll send you through to one of us. Thanks very much. We'll be signing off.